Hi, my name is Ernie Kleiman. Welcome to my shop. Today I'm going to be talking about circle cutting jigs. I find this a very useful tool in building ukuleles, guitars, and other musical instruments. Typically, I'm using a small Ryobi laminate trimmer, which doesn't have much power, but you don't need much because you're cutting very thin stock. Basically, what it consists of is a laminate trimmer itself. I've taken off the plastic base and replaced it with a sub base made out of 1/4-inch Baltic birch plywood. Previously I had some plastic on there, but what happened was that it eventually shattered. I think it was plexiglass. It just shattered because my shop is quite cold. So basically I'll briefly describe it to you. It's a piece of Baltic birch plywood about 8 or 9 inches long, depending on what kind of circle you want to cut. I'm using a 1/4-inch or 6.5 millimeter carbide cutter, 3/16 of an inch dowel pin, and a 1/8 of an inch pan head screw attached behind with a washer and a butterfly or wing nut to lock everything down. So it's a two-part assembly. There's a 1/4-inch piece on the top and a 1/4-inch piece on the bottom. And this movable piece over here, this dowel here, can be moved back and forth along this rabbet over here, so that you can create any kind of circle or rosette or whatever else that you need. You can keep moving this pin, the screw back as well, and lock it down to the circle that you want to cut. Primarily, you can use this for cutting the sound hole rosette, and also cutting out a sound hole patch in the back of the rosette to reinforce it. So there's three things that you can use with this tool. It's a very handy tool to have indeed. And I believe when I paid for this, I bought this at a used industrial place, and the Ryobi laminate trimmer was about $40 US. So this is a very useful tool to have in your arsenal for cutting rosettes, sound holes, and sound hole patches. I'll review once again. 2 pieces of 1/4-inch Baltic birch. There's a rabbet over here. That's a critical rabbet ledge over here. It has to be lined up right with the center, so that the dowel and the screw are in line with the center part of the cutting bit. Otherwise, your circles will be eccentric instead of proper circle, in other words. So remember, make all your drawings out here. Draw all your lines carefully, and rabbet this out very, very carefully, and have a ledge on the inside for that panhead screw that you use to lock down the jig. And as you can see, the back end is over here, is just another piece of 1/4-inch Baltic birch plywood. The next little jig I'd like to show you is a flattening jig. Now if you plan to make your uke or guitar sides top flat, basically all I have here is a piece of 3/4-inch particle board, which I use to work down the linings and the top and the back. One side is faced with 60 grit X-grade weight sandpaper for long life, and the other side is 100 grit sandpaper. So basically take the instrument, rub the sides down against this so I'll get a nice true flat surface, and then switch over to the 100 grit side. Same thing with the 60. You can start with 60, work at 100, and if you prefer a smoother finish, which I don't, because I find that 100 grit is more than adequate for gluing. Especially, there's a fallacy that the smoother the joint, the better the glue joint. That's not necessarily always true, because the rougher grit on the 100 grit gives you a good place for the gluing surface to attach itself to, as long as it's flat. Another thing I want to talk to is about some urban myths and legends concerning luthiery and ukulele making. Don't forget, ukuleles came first to Hawaii by a Portuguese cabinet maker, so he probably used the woods that were available locally in Hawaii. That doesn't mean you can't use woods that are available in your area, and I would strongly suggest you experiment with local woods, using a soft wood for the top and a really hard wood for the back. And since there's 55,000 different woods in the world, I'm sure there's a good combination that you can come up with or haven't even tried. So There's a lot of fallacies in woodworking about using this wood or that wood. That's probably the only thing the guy found out on the waterfront when he was looking for scrap wood to use for his first instrument. So I encourage a lot of people to try different things to see what works for them. And don't get cast into that mold that if you can only use koa or only use this wood, the instrument will sound much better. A lot of it depends on the maker's skill and not necessarily that much on the quality of the wood, because there's a lot of great instruments that have been built with using inferior woods. And that's all I want to talk about today. Thank you. Bye-bye.